Welcome to It Happens. He is a CEO, an entrepreneur, outlier, overcomer, storyteller, visionary, victor, mentor, father, brother, underdog, and his favorite term now, doctor. I'm talking about my husband, Glenn Stearns, and this is It Happens.
All right, here we are, honey, talking about something that you've been trying to do for a really long time, and you finally did it. You finally did it.
Well, let's say
You're not a virgin anymore.
I wasn't trying to do this. I kind of kicked and screamed along the way because, when I think about writing a book, when I think about that, I think sometimes it means you start believing your own BS, right? Mm-hmm. And I have not ever wanted to be that guy. Mm-hmm. But with that said, when I did the show, I did it because I really wanted our kids to be able to see Dad working hard. And
yeah, because most of their young life was really with you battling cancer and battling a lot of, stressful things.
Or then we ended up kind of taking it easy for a few years. And so I thought the show is going to show what it takes, because it's not easy to make it in a business or why we do what we do. Anyway, so the show ended up being, something that gave me this other kind of feedback from people all over the world that I didn't really expect, which I've been touched by and honored to be able to have maybe inspire some people. And so I said, okay, well, people want to know, how did you get there? How did it happen? I mean, going from failing fourth grade and being dyslexic and having alcoholic parents and living in places with bars on the window. We had a rough start, and having a child at eighth grade.
I mean, you were a child yourself.
Right, at 14 years old. So how do you then go from that without a whole lot of, mentorship and a roadmap and people to kind of set you along the path to being able to do the kind of things you and I have enjoyed over the last 20 or 30 years. And so people want to know, what did it take? So,
well, there's a lot of people that write books out there about their lives. Yours is, and everyone has a different reason for doing it. Like the show, you did the show because you wanted to be an example and show your kids something. It wasn't really a vanity project, if you will. I mean, you were really testing yourself personally. And I think there was a point in the show when you're like, oh my God, how can I blow this up? This is really flipping hard.
People were right. I'm going to fail, and the world's going to see it. But when it was done, I was very proud, because that is life. You want to give up at times. It's hard. It isn't everything you thought it'd be. Actually, this is a lot harder than I thought it would be. Those kind of things play out. And when we're finished, and if you do stick it out,
survive,
you become, you're proud. And so that was very, that was the inspiration for writing the book, right?
And I would say you could put it under many categories. It's both. It's all a memoir. It's self-help. It's inspiring. It's motivational. It's a real look into some of the gritty stories that you lived through that really helped not only develop your character, but revealed your character too, I think, in many respects.
Well, I mean, I've always said I lead with my flaws, right? and
this
that's
book shows a lot of it.
It does.
You highlight it. You're not afraid to really talk about the areas where you, don't feel comfortable or weren't comfortable or didn't feel strong, and how you surrounded yourself with the right people to project yourself forward, how you developed the survival skills in the street. I mean, there were a lot of it. I mean, it starts off about your kind of the career pinnacle and also the career pain of when you sold your company, when you were at the peak of your existence, and financially and
it doesn't start
professionally.
there.
Well, the beginning of the book does, but the story goes back then and really gets you to that. I mean, the first chapters we really bam, 2007. We just hit you right off the top, like some of your greatest struggle.
And again, I not to go deep into the book, but
buy the book. You can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it anywhere. Go now and get your copy. It'll be out. It'll be out soon.
Yeah, I think that when people think people are lucky, or they have to have friends in the business, or they whatever it is, you have to have rich parents, all these things. if you take a look at my life, you go, wow, he didn't have any of that. He was absolutely at the bottom of the bottom and somehow crawled himself out. And so people always want to know, how'd you do it?
Right.
And so I thought, all right, let me throw it out there. And if there's people that can get some inspiration out of it, which I really hope that happens, that'd be wonderful. Because, again, it's a lot of the stories aren't about success. And by the way, success doesn't mean that it's all about money. Success to me has been about happiness. It's been about balance and yeah, a lot of other things. It's about people that want to, take a look and say, I admire that person or those people because how they live their lives in the community, family, business, everything, and if money kind of follows that, wonderful, which, obviously in our case it has, but I don't think that's all that it's about. And so through the book, you'll find many different times where things didn't work out the way I planned them.
Was it hard? Was it hard going through all these stories? Was it any challenge for you, you think, in like revisiting all these? Because you've always, what I know about you, you don't really dwell on the past. You've never like lamented or waffled or just stayed musing about the past. You're just kind of like, hey, it happened, and moving on.
100%. And matter of fact, when I'm in the middle of the shit, when it's just bleak as can be, I always think, this could make a good part of the book. Not literal book, but book of my life.
Story, the life story.
Right. This is going to be a story. That kind of thing I say. And so when it does happen and you're through it, it's just another story. And I like keeping it that way. And I say that because there's a lot of people that have a hard time getting out of their past. Mm-hmm. And I feel for them. They relive it over and over again, and it becomes more and more painful. And I feel for those people, but I think it's a wonderful place when you just say, this was part of my life. Mm-hmm. I lived it, and I've moved on. And, maybe I'm different, but I think that's the better way to move on in your life than to sit and relive something that was painful over and over again.
You've been always good at that. And I noticed that myself. I remember myself giving a keynote speech on something, and I suffered some abuse from a family member as a child. And they approached me and said, how did you forgive him? How did you move on? And I guess, I don't know if it's a mindset, but I'm pretty sure you choose. And there's when you hang on to a past story, I think it serves you somehow because it allows you to have excuses to not do things or not to progress further. And I think we use the past as an excuse to not progress forward. And I've never really used that. Like, it happened. There's nothing I can do about it. So for me, I've said before, my pain became my strength.
Right.
And you've talked about, what can you do? You can't do it. It's the past.
There's maybe I'm just more maybe I'm more in tune to it right now, but I hear of a lot of people that had been through a lot of trauma growing up, and I and you hear how difficult it was and how much it has affected their life. I wrote a little bit about some of that.
Yeah,
I left out so many times. Crazy people have tried to hit on me when I was a kid, and all kinds of things that happened. And I left out 80% of it probably, but because I don't really care about it.
Redundant. It happened a lot.
I mean, you got to think.
The point is,
I was young. I had the hair really long. I was 14. I had a child.
You obviously were very fertile.
Yes, but what did that do to the community? The community went, this young boy is active.
Right.
So all the pedophiles came out. I mean, everywhere I looked. But I don't think about it because it was just something that happened, and a bunch of people that had their own unhealthy obsession came after me, and I fended them off. There's a couple of stories in there, but
Why do you think, though, you are someone who can do that and others aren't? Why do people hang on?
Again, you hit it. I think it serves you when you need it. I don't know that that's healthy, you know, but some people feel that's the, you know, that's one of those little things they have in their pocket that can help maybe soften a blow when a lot's hitting them. I don't, you know, listen, I've had some trauma, maybe, but it's deep in there, and
it creates a lot. There's a lot of deep mental health issues in people that is from childhood trauma, and sometimes professional
some people
help
get mad at us for this because I'm sure because they've had years of therapy and a lot of things. It doesn't just disappear. But in my life, I've chosen. I don't want to relive it. I don't care to relive it, and so we move on. About bringing it up in the book, to your first question, no, I didn't. It wasn't like I brought it back up and it had any pain. It didn't have any pain to begin with for me because I didn't care. It was always that person is doing something that I'm not interested in, so that's their life.
Right.
It's no reflection of me. I'm going to continue down my life and let people be who they are, you know. Everybody's different. People like tall people, short people, you know, every
all
kind of people
sizes.
you can.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, everybody's different. So
what was the most painful part about writing this book?
The most painful part was, well, I don't know what was painful, but, well, doing it. Because, again,
just sitting down and telling these stories.
There's a couple things that were interesting. You know, when I look back on me selling our baby, the mortgage business, and how that did not turn out the way I'd like it, you know, how the group I sold it to ended up bankrupting it, and, you know, it had our name on it. So, you know, you think that's not good. I had the Wall Street Journal calling me, asking why I'm going bankrupt, and like, it's not me, it's their company. But a lot of that, but when I look back and after writing it, I realized that that group, they didn't do anything wrong. They have so many tools at their disposal to create the best outcome for what they did. They bought a company and they're going to turn around and make money on it. And they used every tool that they could. One of them was to not pay me. At
your demise, yeah, you
guess what?
Lost a lot in that.
I am not bitter about it because that's what they do. And that's not, they didn't screw me. They didn't do anything like that. They used every tool they needed to have an outcome that worked for their shareholders. So when I was able,
some might argue that, you know, yes, it's legal, but it's not ethical. But that's.
But no, they didn't do it with being deceptive or not. You know, that was just in their playbook.
Build their brand.
I didn't know that. I thought I was a partner with them.
Yeah.
And so but after writing that, I realized I'm not bitter about that at all. I mean, that's part of.
You got better.
Yeah, that's part of what they do.
Which was a choice. That was a choice. You could have stood and been very upset.
And actually, I had even more respect for them after I was done, because I realized that's part of, you know, again, how they achieve their greatest returns and whatever.
You spent a lot of hours. I mean, you write this with Laura Morton, who has helped a lot of, you know, 20 New York Times best-selling memoirs, if you will. She really knows she knows how to capture the voice of you. And I think that was, when you guys worked together, really it was your voice on this page, and it was a beautiful weaving of that story, I think.
Yeah, no, I think she captured my voice very well. Yeah, obviously, I still struggle with the written language, all right? I'm not that great with...
But you're not doing the audio. Like, I mean, you're having someone read the audio because of the challenges you have with... You're going to have part of your voice in there.
I don't have challenges. Well, I guess I do a little of my voice, but...
Yeah, it doesn't last.
I'm not going to sit for 10 hours and read a damn book. That's too hard. Yeah. So let someone that knows what they're doing
Delegate. You've always been a master of delegation.
I don't mind doing the opening and maybe the closing, or even talking about some stuff that happened in a little more detail. But, you know, I think we got the story out. And I think, again, looking back, you know, there's a lot of areas that when I look, I go, wow, this is what shaped me and why I was able to, you know, achieve these type of things and go through the fire and do things that would other people thought, God, I would never have done it that way, and I never could have, you know, turned that around. Well, you learn that it's a combination of your whole life that gets you to a place where you can then have these tools to be able to do things. And so maybe if people read the book, maybe they don't have to live through a lot of that pain. They can do it
maybe
themselves.
your lessons can teach them. One thing that might surprise people, there's a whole part of Glenn's life that was spent at a roller rink. And I think that might surprise people, how much of a roller skate king you were, and still are.
Hey,
you can still move around the rink. We just went for Father's Day. I mean,
people that in the late 70s, that's what you did.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just a little.
But no, you didn't just go to the rink, though. You were like hustling. You were shooting the duck. You were walking the moon. Whatever the moves were. Weren't you in competitions?
Skating. I did that. But that's also why I ended up with a daughter at 14, okay? Because I spent a lot of time in the back of the roller rink, you know.
You gave someone your skate key.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, there's, you know, I mean,
But to make it a comeback, roller skating is like full on. You should get back on the. We should.
I watched some of the TikToks with everybody. I'm like, I wouldn't like being out there again.
You're gonna get out there. We'll get you out there.
But no, you know, again, it's all part. Everybody's got a past, and growing up around that. By the way, again, I go back to interesting people. A place where a lot of children gather.
Yeah.
Especially way back in the day before, there was also a lot of pedophiles and a lot of people. And we grew up differently. It was not a time where you had so much information in front of your face.
Right.
Parents, hey, come back when it's dark. You know, when the street lights come on.
Drop your kids off at the rink, pick them up after.
And that was it. And then there were other people that came around, and they were predators. And, you know, and you weave that. I'm sure I'm not alone. A lot of that stuff happened to a lot of people. And yet, maybe mine was exacerbated because...
Exacerbated?
Is that the right word?
Yeah, see,
Thank
he
you.
does have trouble with the English language. It's okay.
But because people understood I was active sexually at a young age, so...
That's a word that sounds like exacerbated. You weren't doing a lot.
I was masturbated.
Well, no, you weren't, because you were making people
right,
pregnant.
Move on.
You probably should have done more of that.
Exactly.
Had you done more of that, you...
People don't want to hear about that. They want to
Actually, they do. So anyway, okay, back to the book. Back to being between the covers. I mean, it looks good. Look at that. It looks good. It's very gritty. I love the cover. I love you on the cover. I think it looks nice with grit and red integrity available wherever you get your books.
So maybe what we'll do, right, is just kind of start picking apart the book.
Well, yeah, you know what we're going to do? We've got a series of podcasts coming up where we're going to talk to some of the people, some of the players in your life, throughout the life that wove the story. I mean, you know, you wouldn't be here. And a lot of people, you know, you were voted most likely to be a loser. You had a college counselor tell you to quit. I mean, there were a lot of obstacles that I think a lot of people might have relate to in their lives about people that weren't supporting that journey along the way. But you somehow were like, in spite of all the forces coming at you that would sometimes indicate a failure life or a miserable life. I mean, a lot of people who have a child at 14 don't really have this kind of trajectory. But you somehow have gone that way.
Again,
why you? Why are you?
Well,
why does your brain work that way?
And you go back to why did you write the book? You know, being able to go, okay, why? With that childhood, right, of growing up with no body to kind of lead me in a direction and without any look towards the future, how do you end up in a place that's with such abundance and so much, you know, that we're proud of, that I'm so deeply proud of? How did it happen? And so plotting it out and looking back on my life and seeing where I took the right turn instead of the wrong turn, it was very therapeutic, and it also got me to realize it didn't happen by accident. You know, that I didn't get here, and I'm not here as this, you know, one-hit wonder where you make a bunch of money and then, you know, it goes away. Why have we been able to keep and maintain and even achieve things of beyond anybody's wildest dreams?
Right. And
so that's the very important part of me writing that book, is to kind of think about how did it all happen. And, you know, there's so much. Again, when I look back on the childhood stuff, it just reads like just the biggest fuck up ever, right? You know what I mean? It's like, you know, I looked at what was painful, what's going, every one of my stories is about fucking up, right? It's like, how are people, if they read this, they're probably going to put it down and go, I don't want to know about this guy's life. It's too much of a shit show.
But it has such a great arc, though.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
The arc now is like you've had this modicum of success, and even in your success, you've had major setbacks and failures. 2007 was just like a brutal time. Cancer, overcoming that. You know, health scares, twice doing that. And, you know, you went through a divorce, which is hard. You tackle all of these areas of adversity, and somehow you come back on the side. You're good friends with your ex-wife, who's a wonderful human being. You turned around. Yeah,
children.
I mean, you turned your company around, and we're the top-selling mortgage lender in the
Number
country.
one in the country.
I mean,
Thank
you
you
beat cancer twice, and you're probably healthier than you've ever been
I'm
because
on the
of
board
what you
of
eat
MD
now.
Anderson now, right.
You know, there's a lot of good things. Just for 1 second, I want to go to one story that, like, just to kind of go back. There was a time in your life when you were in college, which you barely made it to, which you went to because of a girl. You know, it wasn't like your academics, but you made it somehow, and now you're a distinguished alumni speaking at the graduation ceremony coming up. So there was a college counselor that told you to quit, like an educator who's supposed to be responsible for trajecting the dreams of young dreamers towards success, but they said, I think, expand on that a little bit.
Well, I ended up in academic probation.
Like you said.
You know, I had never had an F in my life, and then I ended up getting 1 or 2 that semester, and I remember my teacher, I think I fell asleep in the class, and he just read me out and was yelling at me and saying, why are you in here? Why are you doing this? You know, and he'd given me the F. Oh, it was my second time in his class. I got an F the first time. And same class, it was...
it wasn't art, was it?
It was literature.
Yeah, well, worse.
History of literature or something. Yeah, I couldn't do that. So, anyway, I got mad. I go, you know what? I pay my way in this school. Nobody does. I said, I'm the one who has to pay for my tuition. I said, I was at TGI Fridays until 1:30 in the morning working so I could pay. I said, so I'm very sorry that I said, but I bust my ass. Like, I didn't like that. And then my advisor telling me I should quit, which, you know, as you know, I graduated with a 2.16. And as speaking of...
There's hope!
Yeah. When I did go to speak to the alumni...
business class, yeah, you told that story.
I said, hey, I don't know why I'm here. I think they got the wrong person. I graduated with like a 2.1, and
the dean corrected you. She looked it up.
2.16. I looked it up. So that's why I know that. But, yeah, no, it got me mad. I don't think people should encourage people to quit. And in my life, I knew, I said, if I quit, I'll never go back.
Right.
And I think in a lot of our lives, we think, well, why don't I just give this a break and then I'll come back to it? And we never do. And it's a way to ease ourselves into failure, right? It's a way to say it's okay to fail. If we just give it enough time, we won't remember. And I didn't like that. I don't want to quit. I don't want to give up. I was doing everything I could to survive in college, you know, working my tail off, partying a little too much too.
A little.
But the reality was, you know, I was learning about life in college, right? I was learning about people that let you down, like roommates, and negotiating with landlords and campus police and all kinds of other crazy things. So, you know, all those things became wonderful tools for me to use later when I needed them. And, you know, so obviously I made it, but
well, speaking of
barely.
tools, there's one that you have. I know one of your colleagues who you talk about a lot in the book, Richard Branson. He has become a friend over the years. We've done a lot with him in the charity world. And he has very openly talked about dyslexia being his superpower. And there's a whole movement about dyslexia strong. There's a whole LinkedIn movement about dyslexia is your superpower. Yeah, I can't even say it. Look at that. But how would you say that, and ADHD, which you clearly have, both, how has that become your superpower?
Okay.
How did that work for you?
So what I've said to our own children, and for those of you out there, okay, maybe you're not going to be the magna cum laude, blah, blah, blah,
valedictorian,
right?
yeah.
You're not going to be this person. And if you are, congratulations. Right. You've got a brain that can remember things and you know.
Assimilate, yeah.
And that's wonderful. But if you don't, what is your strength, right? And so having dyslexia and having problems with paying attention, and when you have that, sometimes those people end up being very personable. You know, you just start to develop a different part of your brain. So as I've told our own children, hey, celebrate your gift.
Right.
And it might not be that you can retain information and, you know, and get the straight A's. That's fine. But maybe you have a gift. You know, you think about a lot of very successful people are the ones that communicate. That's the most important aspect. And then you've got great researchers and people that can do that. That's a whole different skill set. So that's not you, and this is over here, then celebrate that, whatever way you are, wherever you are. And so, you know, having not had the gift of retention, you know, I developed more of a personal side of being able to relate to people.
You're a good negotiator. You're a good relator. You're good talk to people. You're a good sales guy. You can talk anybody into it.
And so I found that is my strength or superpower, and so I will highlight that as much as I can. And then I'll go find those people that can retain information. I'll go find those people, as they say, all of the A students work for the C students or whatever that saying is, right? But it's so true, you know, and so wherever you are, you need to relate to your own strength and then take that up. But it doesn't make you any better whether you're the A student or the D student, as long as you can focus on what, you know, part of your brain developed the most.
I was in a group of women called Fearless Women. We meet and we talk a Bible. It's like a Bible study led by Donna Schuler. Her husband married us. Anyway, we talked about like how are you using your gifts? How are you honoring God or Jesus in your life? And I say by not wasting the gifts I've been given, because I think we all have a gift. We all have something that makes us unique, and yours is strength and dyslexia, whatever, but you found the areas where you are strong, and you honor those gifts by expressing those gifts and not wasting them. You're not spending a minute looking at someone else saying, why aren't I like that? Why can't I be like that person? Why can't I do this? Because that wastes so much time. You dishonor your creator, if you will, by wasting any time, like you always say.
Never measure yourself with someone else's ruler.
I love that, by using someone else, because everyone brings a unique something to the world that can enhance the world in such a unique and special way. And I love that you honor that and honor your gifts. And I've never seen you someone as comparing yourself to others. You've never been that way. I mean, your mindset is
I can't do anything about it.
I know, but
so why do you want to go somewhere that you're never going to be able to
But
change?
Some people spend their whole life going, oh, I want to be like that person and that person and that person. I wish I had this. They shouldn't. I mean, we go back to jealousy, how it corrodes its own vessel. You know, jealousy is such an ugly term, but your mindset is everything. Talk for a second about mindset and how you do everything.
Well, again, I think it's very important to, you know, if you think about those type of things, jealousy, if you think about losing a lot of money because you did a deal and it went south, or in our case, when our business had its issues, if you can't do anything about it, why waste 1 second? You talk about, I might not have the greatest retention of information, but what I do is don't focus. I don't put into my mind the things I cannot change at all. And
I've been guilty of that.
When there's been times, even when some close friends of ours have passed away, we deal with that much differently. I don't get to sadness very much. I get to maybe a little anger, like, what an idiot for drinking himself to death, or what, I get mad, and then I move on, which is different. Everybody deals with things differently, and
I probably I know I hang on a little longer. I stay in it for a lot longer than you do. It's just a different mindset. Different mindset.
But my point is
what it is.
And to your question,
I get through it eventually. Just a different
why
way.
not just focus your mind on things you can change, and then you can create outcomes that work in your favor. And again, we spend a lot of time in life. People do. Just with situations that they just have no ability to make a change in. I think it's meaninless to do that. Well, it doesn't matter to
if you
focus on that.
Are interested in learning how this brain works and how to see how this mind created what he's created in the lifetime he has, you'll want to pick up a copy. I mean, there's a lot of great stories in there. We're going to talk in the series here on the Grit Happens about some of the players who have worked their way through the thread of his life and have influenced him in many different ways, like even like your best friend from childhood is kind of like your life wife. I mean, he's been there for the better, for worse, rich or poor, sickness and health. He's been there since the beginning, and we're going to talk to him too, and a lot of the other mentors who have come throughout your life. We're excited to get this on stands. Go online. You can find it anywhere. Integrity by Glenn Stearns with Laura Morton. And I hope you'll enjoy it as much as we've enjoyed. I've enjoyed reading it and being part of the story. I'm a good part of it. 20 years of that story. That's a big part.
And if I come off maybe not so excited to it, it's not that. I'm excited about the book, and I'm excited about, but putting something out there that's your own is
very vulnerable.
It's not vulnerable. It's okay. But I mean, I just don't.
You're not afraid of being vulnerable.
I don't want to be like, look at me, like, aren't I something greater than someone else? I'm not. Every one of us have our own ability to be as great as they can be. I just really thought, okay, again, from what I've learned about people, and they said, Glenn, you've really changed my life.
People have been telling you this for years.
I am grateful for it. And if these stories can help other people be able to find their greatness, wonderful. I would love to hear about that. That, to me, touches me.
Well, once you read it, pick up your copy, and then we're going to talk about it, and we want to hear from you, too. We want you to tell us your thoughts on it. What do you think of the story? What stories resonated with you, and what further questions do you have? And we'll have all that opportunity in the coming year as this book does hit bookshelves. We're excited for you to be part of this journey.
They can pre-order it now?
You can pre-order it now. You can go on Amazon. You can go anywhere books are sold. Find it. Integrity by Glenn Stearns. And then don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on YouTube, on wherever your podcasts are streamed. You can find us there on Grit Happens. Follow on Instagram, Glenn Stearns, 2 N's, on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. He's everywhere. We're everywhere. And always remember to be kind. That's the lesson I want y'all to remember. Live with the grit and be kind. That's it for us. Another episode of, say it with me, Grit